Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Today, I'm going to be talking about how technology is changing how we practice architecture and engineering. I'd like to invite everyone to scan my QR code. It's going to send you to my LinkedIn page where I'm quite active and where I've met many of the people who are both speaking or attending the event. My name is Bernardo Araujo. I was born and raised in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, and I'm the co-founder and consultant at Linha2 Arquitetura, a company specialized in developing and managing projects using BIM. So I invite everyone to get to know us. I've been living in Montreal, Canada for a year now, where I'm a BIM 360 support specialist at Autodesk. I don't think I have to introduce Autodesk to any of you here today. And why am I speaking to you? Well, I believe it's because of my path so far, both in the architecture, engineering, construction industry, but mainly with BIM. Since 2005, I had the opportunity to work with at the University Federal of Minas Gerais, which is the university where I went to, and I had the opportunity to work with Vectorworks, both using it as a design tool, but also as a facilities management tool. But we didn't use BIM as a term at that point, and probably just around 2010 when Revit came into my life that I realized that I was working with BIM since 2005. So it's been 18 years now, roughly, that BIM is on my career path. And ever since, I tried so many tools, so many plugins, so many platforms, softwares, everything related to my job especially as an architect. So it's been a long path so far. When we talk about technology, we think about a lot of stuff, and nowadays we think mainly about, digital stuff, I would say. But technology is pretty much everything that humankind has created to shape the world we live in. So I brought these three definitions of technology there from different fields, different areas, but they all talk about how we are creating and shaping our world. So technology is everything we do in our life as humans, as humankind, to shape the world. And technology has made the world changing. Uh, this is the world almost 5,000 years ago. The buildings that we were building, the buildings have changed. Definitely, this is from one of my favorite architects, Renzo Piano. But we have changed how we practice as architects and engineers. This is an office in the 70s. We can see a lot of drawing boards, all the drawing materials, people standing over their boards. Here we have Atelier Jean Nouvel in Paris, where we can see computers, far less space, more women. But we have changed as people. This is world famous Catalan architect Antoni Gaudí at age 26. Here is much younger Sir Norman Foster, the British architect, at age 84. But when we talk about technology, what we think most is about digitalization, computers. And I really like this graph from 2015 from McKinsey, a consulting company, where we can see construction as the less digitalized industry. And it's really funny to think that we still do construction as we did some 100 years ago by stacking bricks mainly. But we've been a long way ever since that 2015 assessment. I think that's mainly probably one of the periods of greatest development in our industry. So I have this graph, maybe 4 or 5 years older than the first one, where we have 10 technology items that have been brought into our industry disruptive technologies by the World Economic Forum. Sorry, World Economic Forum. I think it's a very ugly graph, but still, it has a lot of technologies that have been incorporated or are being incorporated into our practice. But what I'd like to discuss here is how how those technologies are being brought into our practice, our everyday practice. Because when I see this graph here, we have autonomous construction, big data, predictive analytics, but those things are not really in our horizon here, or they're very still very decent for everyday practice for most firms. But those things are becoming reality faster and faster and faster. So it's really important to understand how those things are going to come to our everyday life, or are coming to our everyday life, and how they're going to shape our practice as construction professionals. Of course, I talk mainly from the point of view of someone who's in the office, designing or managing more than in the field. But still, um, I'm going to bring from now on 10 ways how technology is changing our industry. Yeah, I think technology really is. So I love this robot. I don't know if you guys here follow the Boston Dynamics robots. They're outstanding pieces of technology. Uh, oh my God, they do. They are so flexible. They are so strong. And Spot, which is this black mirrorish kind of dog, or I don't know if you call it a dog, but yeah, I see it as a dog. It's a very strong machine that can reach places that we as humans can't or shouldn't. So you can have Spot going into abandoned fields, mines, um, into buildings that are about to collapse, or just old constructions that you don't know how safe they are. Maybe a place that was on fire, and you can assess the inside, and you can have our friend Spot there, maybe with a laser scan on his back, maybe with any other of the tools that you can use on it, uh, making it safer for us humans. Not only safety, but reach. Those robots, machines, and drones, I think they can go to places that would be really hard for us. I think drones have become something quite common nowadays, and the drones with lidar scanning and mapping, they have made our job much easier. A drone can go into a mining field, and without having to fight for space with the off-road trucks, it makes our life easier, safer. They can reach places that, top of buildings, or really at the top of high rises, or they can map facades, or they can map sites that are hard to reach. So they made our life a lot easier. They are making, and I think especially drones, they have been used a lot today for mapping, for ground mapping, and they are bringing, oh, a much better result than the old mapping that we used to do. So a lot of precision, including, and this brings me to my next point. Point clouds. They are one of the ways where we are working with a much more precise environment. Uh, I don't know here who had the chance to work with point clouds before. We have had a couple of experience before at Linha2. Uh, Here I got this point cloud treated by Vercator, and well, this is the surveying, the result of a surveying. We have a richness of details. Of course, we have different machinery that can take different level of details and precision, but some machines take colors and precision up to the millimeter. So we are shifting from centimeters to millimeters, not only on the surveying, but when we talk about prefabrication, we are having pieces that are much more precise. So we are bringing a kind of precision to our construction sites and to our life that is much bigger than ever before. We've been talking about collaboration and integration in our industry lately, and I really like the tools that I work with, like the CDEs, the Common Data Environments. I think those are the most powerful tools that are creating a real change in how we design. I think especially softwares like AutoCAD, they made us very individualistic professionals. Uh, since we could share files easily, we stopped talking to each other. And I think CDEs are bringing this back. And they are, of course, the tools themselves, they don't do the work. We know that. But they are enablers. And when we have tools like BIM 360, ACC, and many others that integrate the whole process, even from before designing to operation, including every single thing there, they really change how we work. So we whoever studies BIM as I have before knows that BIM is making us work together, is changing the workflows, and I think this is powered mainly by integration. One thing that I really love, and I come from a country that is still stacks bricks mainly. We most of our construction is made on site. I know that some countries they are more advanced in that matter, but I think more and more we are going to change our industry to manufacturing, and that changes our design, that changes our documentation. I'm going to talk more about that, but uh, whenever we see the works of architects like Frank Gehry or Zaha Hadid, we know that we can't be making things on site anymore. Those things are going to be assembled on site. So I think we're going to shift from an industry uh, as an industry more to how cars are built. Uh, and that doesn't mean that we are going to build things that are more repetitive. We can see how cars work in some points, but it gives us the possibility to build pieces that are going to be there that have never been made before. And I mentioned here two architects that have outstanding pieces that were manufactured and that brought their architecture to life. Another very powerful and connected way that our industry is shifting is with offsite and, as I mentioned, assembly. This is the construction of edifício level in São Paulo by Brasil ao Cubo, which is a company that works with modular construction, especially during the COVID times. They were involved in some hospitals that were built quite fast. Of course, when we see those buildings, it's quite common to see buildings like in China that were built in 7 days. We in the industry, we know that they weren't built in 7 days. They might have been assembled in 7 days, maybe. But it's still outstanding to see that this is a nice looking building. It's a complete building ready to be operated, and it was brought up in 100 days. Uh, Actually, I don't think construction is the right word here, but it's 100 days from when it started being assembled in the shop and then was put up in the field. And that's it. We are going to make our constructions faster, more precise. And of course, when you construct offsite, we're also using less materials. This is VR and VA, virtual reality, and virtual augmentation. Those are 2 points that I think we have seen enough. By this point, most of people here have tried those VR goggles, and of course, with Apple's latest innovations, those things are closer and closer. But I really like this Arups Urban 95 VR experience, because what they try to achieve with this specific program is to have adults wearing the goggles and seeing the city through the eyes and through the height of a child. And I have a child myself, a 6-year old nowadays, and every time in a crowded place, or even when I see him holding a handrail, I see that heights are different for him. People are more oppressive. A lot of people must oppress him more. And if you can see the city through the eyes of someone else and here on the child's eye, you're going to see it from a different perspective. And that's one of the ways that we can use VR and VA to see the world from different perspectives than our own. And I really like this, and I invite everyone to take a look at Arup's Urban 95 VR experience. This is a very interesting discussion. I think our documentation is changing. When we start using models, we are already changing the way we build. I work with an architect, Julio Teixeira. He's an architect from started from in the 70s, if I'm not wrong. And I remember him saying that you wouldn't draw everything, you wouldn't draw every facade. So you would just, imagine how it was going to be. When I mean you wouldn't draw, I mean in details, of course. And now with models, we have details that sometimes don't even show up in the documentation, in the 2D drawings. And I don't know if we're going to keep doing, I'm sure we're not going to keep doing 2D drawings as we do them nowadays. We talked about assembly and modular construction and manufacturing. So we might be doing more shop and assembly drawings than construction drawings as we know them. But it might come a time where we won't need drawings at all. The very nice looking Dusty Robotics field printer takes your models and draws them on the ground, on the floor, and you can build your walls or here it looks like probably some air conditioning or whatever. It's gonna draw on the ground there, and you don't need the plans anymore. You can just go there and see how things are in place. Another point that is very much discussed is data, and we talked especially about price trade-offs and that kind of stuff. But I think this is a very nice tool that has a very powerful impact, which is the carbon footprint tool, the embodied carbon data. It's available now in the BIM 360 viewer for in Autodesk BIM 360 viewer for some customers at least. And it's a really powerful tool. It's one of the ways that we can calculate the carbon footprint in a construction on the design phase. So as we talked about how data can change, where we can see the price before the construction costs and everything before, and BIM allows us to make changes before the design advances. Here we have a very powerful tool to assess the impact in the nature, which is very important nowadays. And another very talked point, especially recently, since especially ChatGPT, right? It's AI. But I know that most of my colleagues are really afraid of AI. I know that Autodesk, one of Autodesk main people in AI, Mike Haley, is a guy that I followed, and I think he's got an amazing set of ideas for how AI is going to be used, and it's being introduced in Autodesk's products. But I really like this is one of the best ways, the Oregon State AI Point Cloud to BIM. We talked about Point Cloud, and if we use AI to, for example, to understand what are the pipings in this point cloud. And instead of me having to model the survey, it is going to model the pipes or the walls or everything else. So we're using AI to actually understand a point cloud or a drawing and transform it into a model or a construction object that can be used later on. Oh, those were very brief introductions to these points. Each one of them was worth it. Speak themselves. Uh, if I have the opportunity to share with everyone, those are the sources for every image and program here. And I thank everyone again. And once more, I invite you to follow me or add me in LinkedIn. Thank you again, and bye-bye.